Everybody has strengths and, not a whole lot of weaknesses. Michael's kind of my setup guy. He knows how I like to put things together. Otto's kind of my workhorse guy. Kyla, she sets everything up. So I was always kind of an art kid growing up, and painting, drawing, anything creative. Just to be able to work with my hands kind of taught me a lot about, who I was, where I was going. And when I finally found, my calling, which was glassblowing, I fell in love with it, and I really don't see myself doing anything else for the rest of my life. My name is Gail Allard. I'm owner of Salado Glassworks here in Salado, Texas. Welcome to my journey in being a glass artist. My passion for glassblowing started, kind of by luck, I guess. I walked into a glass shop up in Temple, Texas, with a guy by the name of Bob Reinerson. He was the owner of Rhino Glass. And I was a college student just looking for a job, and he offered one to me, and I worked for him for almost 10 years. And I just fell in love with it and never looked back. The economy kind of crashed about 2008, 2009, and a lot of artists were going out of business. Unfortunately, the shop that I was working at was one of them. And so I found myself on my own at a couple of different studios here in the area. And in 2011, November is when I opened up my shop. So initially we started off in it's about an 1,800 square foot little shop. And immediately I outgrew it the day I opened up. Well, since 2014, we've moved into this larger facility, which is now the home of Salado Glassworks. I always tell people it's just short of surgery. Because when you're out there working, you have to have this total focus. If you can help it, you don't start talking, because that throws a lot of the concentration off. You find a beat in a song, tune your mind, you can tune the whole process to what you're listening to. It becomes a lot of muscle memory. You just know that at this moment you have to do this. At this moment, this is going to happen. And then here in a second, Otto's going to bring this thing over here. And it's a dance, and it's like a song. You're making the piece, and you just want to get to the end and, not wipe out.
Right after talking to Pop, puffing on heavy smoke. Laugh now, cry later. My only dream in life was to rock a mic up in front of you spectators and rock shell toes, not gators. Show love, not haters. I'm switching over like crossfaders to a better time and place where it's safe, and they can't judge a nigga by the color of his face, but by the content of the way that I spit these letters. I'm kicking it with white boys in old navy sweaters, ball cap low on my eye, cause sometimes I'm listening to my style so much.
The signature bowls, I set colors up, and so that's in the process when Michael or Otto, either the two of the guys, they're holding up that stick, that big blob of glass that's on the end, and there's about 5 or 6 different colors that are combined together. So that's called the overlay. And what I work on while that's being built is kind of the interior of the bowl. I'll start off with some powdered glass, larger kind of granules called frit. Different sizes of that. And I kind of map everything out, well before I start the piece. There's certain colors that work well together. Some of them that definitely don't work well together. So when I put those colors together, I'm kind of A, B, C, D, and E. And right, A and B, too close together. Those colors may be too hot. They heat up too quick, and that's going to cause the bowl to just go crazy or fold or do something that you really don't want. The design at the beginning, really sets the stage for everything that happens throughout the piece. So you got a little bit of orange. That's kind of a stiffer color. You've got a lot of these blues in here. Those are softer colors. You got this white, which is kind of a dense color. And anytime you see a color that comes through that's a little bit thinner, a little bit narrow, that probably means that it was stiff. It didn't move as well as these blues. You can see the big band of blues, they spread out. So, I've got to put these these colors together in an arrangement to where I can be able to control, you know, all the way to the end, how that's going to react. So that's pretty much, you know, the beginning of the piece. And then, you know, I do a lot of manipulation of the colors and things like that. I throw additional powders and little bits of glass on the outside to get these kind of fun little splashes of color in here, you know. And some of them are more subtle to see than others, but where those colors meet up, I like to pinch them and just really I'm painting, you know, with the glass. You can imagine that. It's so hot, it moves like it's thinner than honey. It just kind of draws around. So I look at the colors before I start picking, you know, and manipulating the colors, and I kind of think what's going to look best on top of what. You know, I always try to pinch a white with a pink and pull that through, or a white with a blue, take it over a red, you know, and then you have these colors that just kind of intersect each other in just kind of fun little ways, these little ribbons that kind of shoot through, just that make the piece a lot more interesting than just a solid chunk of color. And then we get our first layer of glass. 2,040 degrees in the furnace. That furnace holds about 300 pounds when it's full. And so, you know, we go in and we scoop that glass out, we come out, we shape it up. And depending on how big we want the piece, we can add a little bit of air to that or not. And then we get a second layer of glass, which is pretty much the meat of the piece. So we got our second layer of glass on the piece, and that's when we start to blow. That's when, you know, Michael's back there delicately inputting air. Sometimes he's blowing super hard. But we both together, as we're working, we're just watching the piece. You know, if there's too much air, and he'll see one side kind of go a little crazy, he backs off, even without me having to say anything. So it's just like, you know, let's watch this. Let's see, you know, keep going, keep going. The paper is probably the most important tool that we use. That is our only way that we can feel the glass without physically touching it, you know. And once you get your hand and your mind tuned pretty well, you can feel a lot of those bumps through that thick piece of paper. And that's where you really feel the connection to what you're working with. You've got that heat on your hand, you get the heat in your face. That piece of paper just is the messenger, you know, through the whole piece. And then we get to the point to where we flatten the bottom. That's where we're going to do the transfer. Somebody will make a punny. We stick that on the bottom. That's the transfer iron. Put a little bit of water on the neckline where we create a constriction from the pipe to the actual piece. Quick little bonk, and then the piece falls off, you know, onto the pipe, and we go into the glory hole, and then we start working on the opening of the bowl. So that's when, you know, we get that big, thick silver bit. And Otto's normally putting that together for me. He does a really good job, gets a lot of that silver on there so that when we shoot it, it fires off really, really nice. And then we put that band on there. And this is where I get to draw again. So what am I drawing? I'm just whatever. I'll follow the patterns in the glass. You know, I'll try to make a little trace around something. And sometimes I sign letters, a name, something in there, which is why, you know, I call them the signature bowls, the signature vessels. And so once that's finished, applied on there, we go back into the furnace, the glory hole, and we melt all that stuff in there. There's a little bit more shaping here and there. I just need to open the mouth of the vessel just a little bit. You go too much, then it turns into a big floppy mess sometimes. If you don't go enough, then the bowl doesn't actually open up enough to where you actually get to see what's going on inside. And just right, you get a lot of really cool, you know, shapes and these little rhythms and moments in the piece that you just can't get, you know, anywhere else. So, you know, it's taken a long time to time it right. You know, again, some of these colors heat up too fast. Some of them don't heat up at the same time as the one right next to it. So when you're in there, you're in the fire and you're spinning, you really have to watch because things can go south, you know, in an instant. My name is Gail Allard, and thank you for taking a walk with me on my journey through glassblowing.